You get a light up feature?
Of course.
Well, go fuck yourself.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Foosh review. Today, let's take a little look at the Mezco 112 Collective Marvel's Cable. There's just something about getting X-Men figures. I can't help it. There for a while, we weren't getting a lot of action figures based on the X-Men or mutants or... It was a whole deal. As far as Marvel's concerned, I'm a fan. Avengers, Spider-Man, Thor, but X-Men's where it's at. So during those years, even though I was buying stuff, I always hoped and dreamed of having X-Men characters in the future, and here we are. We're in the future. Looking at the box, it's your standard Mezco 112 packaging. It's the nice, fancy box, the nice artwork, the very luxurious, glossy black cable. 112 Collective, Marvel. I like this styling here. On the side, more of the same, just in different color. On the back, promotional shots, what you get with the figure. It just feels so fancy. On the bottom, same thing, but this time it's just warnings and don't put them in your mouth. And that's just the slipcover. It comes off the fancy box, and then you get a look at everything in here, but the figure is so well protected that it's not really meant to display like this. 112 Collective, 112 Collective. So let's get him out of his plastic or cardboard prison and see what's going on here. Looks like we get just a basic quality sheet, install the batteries in the back. Most of the stuff on front, but there's a dual layer, and on bottom there should be, oh, my favorite feature, it comes with the batteries. If it has a light up feature and you're paying this much for it, you should at least get the batteries. You have the cool stand with the X and the same kind of motif as the box itself. It has a foot peg, but if you want to use the arm and not the foot peg, you kind of pop the foot peg out. That leaves a hole. You plug that in, and Mezco continues to make what is probably my favorite stands out of any company's offerings. They're strong, they will hold up some weight. And then as usual, here's the branded plastic baggie, which may seem cheap, which may seem like, oh, what the hell? But when you get a bunch of extra stuff with an action figure, you want to put them away. And I've got like a filing cabinet with a bunch of Mezco. And getting the figure in hand, this is my favorite kind of Mezco, when the cloth represents kind of a loose or real type clothing, and then plastic takes care of the armor and the belts and the pouches and the boots. Don't get me wrong, I'm okay with Mezco and their skin tight superhero costumes, but I kind of lean this way. And it's essentially some baggy fatigue type pants, and then you have the undershirt just to keep him from looking naked under his armor. And there is a contrast, like with the armor, this has been through some shit. There's some dents, there's some dings, there's some scratches, there's some dirtiness, and then you get kind of a clean look for the pants and the shirt underneath. But I think that's okay, because that would be the pieces that you can switch at any time. Hey, I'm gonna go grab a new pair of pants, or I have another shirt back at the ship. But realistically, you'd carry the same pouches that are packed with the things that you need to take on every mission. You don't have a closet full of boots or an armory full of extra armors. You put these on top of this. So that makes sense to me. I can justify that completely. But moving away from all that realistic type stuff, we're talking about toys here, Mezco did a fantastic job with the detailing work. I love how the color fades right here, like there's been a blast or the paint's worn right there. There's a texture to all the metal bits, just a little hint of it. Then you get to leather type parts and it's a different kind of texture, as it should be. So it really does a good job of kind of representing what it's meant to be. And we won't get to the light up feature until the accessories, but if you didn't know this didn't have a light up feature, you wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, it does a good job of kind of hiding what actually lights up, and then it does a damn fine job of hiding the battery compartment. I mean, if there weren't instructions, I'd be, where'd the batteries go? All that same detailing comes down to the boots. It just looks battle worn. He's traveled some miles. The metal arm kind of continues that. There's a little bit of dirtiness to it, but man, the detailing here with the stripes and the musculature, oh man, it's just so good. The costume overall look, it kind of pulls from different eras, but it's definitely Mezco-fied. To me, this kind of draws me towards the modernish Cable and Deadpool series, but then the big boots remind me of the 90s. Some of the pouches, the belts. Well, that definitely calls back to the 90s. All the basics are there, but it's almost like somebody described cable to somebody else who didn't know what cable looked like, and they just came up with their own kind of design for it. So it's very close, very evocative of cable. Again, like I said, Mezco-fied. And then the head, you have the realistic eye. Again, if you didn't know there was a light up feature here, then you wouldn't guess there was one. Got a scar, it's got his white hair, it's got his Rutger Hauer kind of look to him. I wish there was a little bit more paint wash in the hair to break up all that white, but it definitely works, and it's a nice contrast against the blues and the skin tones. Also, the elbows get such a bad rap from Mezco. To see a double elbow here that actually gets more range than some of the suited bodies that I get from this line, I like that. That works for me. One thing that keeps throwing me, though, I keep moving the torso, which it has movement, and I'm okay with that. But the ab plate is attached to the belt. Anytime I try to adjust it up and down, it just throws me off a little bit. But it really works when it comes to moving the torso. It's not a super amount of movement, but it's a little bit. Going over articulation, there is a ball joint at the top of the neck. Because how it's cut, there's a lot of chin there, so he can't really look down, but he's got a not bad up. Tilt's actually better than that. Swivel. This shoulder pad, unfortunately, does get in the way. It acts like a separate piece, and it has a little bit of give to it, but it's not going to get out of the way of the arm if you're going to go straight up. There is a hinge and swivel at the shoulder, comes up, rotates around if you come around. I faked it. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes up past 90. If that's not 90s, I don't know what is. Swivel hinge swivel at the wrist, so you get side to side, but you can swivel it around, kind of move it to get him some up and down. Like I talked about, there's some kind of ball joint in the torso. It doesn't get a lot of range, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know what I'm thinking there. Little bit of twist. Ball at the hips come up. Thigh strap kind of hits, so you can't get completely up. Back out. Oh, that's putting Marvel Legends to shame. Thigh rotation under there. Double knee. Oh, well, the boot gets in the way right there. Rotation at the boot. And then down at the ankle. Unfortunately, we run into this a lot with Mezco. Because of the lack of gap down here, which looks fantastic, it kind of gets in the way of any kind of movement. For accessories, cable comes with 2 fists. And popping them off, a little bit of rubbery makes it just, oh man, I love Mezco switching hands. There's 2 splayed out hands, 2 grip hands, and then 2 trigger finger hands. Comes with a nifty little knife. I love the kind of techno look to it, the futuristic. It doesn't look like a knife that you would have at home or in your pocket. Just fantastic little detail work there. And because of how awesome the hands are, they're rubbery but tight, so you can get it in there, no problem. But he can also sheath it on the thigh strap on the left side. Comes with a futuristic little pistol. Again, same kind of detailing as the knife. There's some gray, some darker gray. For something as small as this is, it's a nice little sculpt job. Absolutely no problem putting that in his hand, dead or alive. But there's also a holster right on the front of the belt that actually works. You can store the weapons away. That's always a nice feature. Comes with a grenade launcher. Again, I'm going to say this several more times, so get used to it. That futuristic look to it. The gunmetal, the orange, the blue, it just really works off each other. And in the history of cable, there's orange, there's blue, there's gunmetal. It says there's a rotating canister, and you can get it to move, but because of how tight that is in there, it's not tight as in hard to move, it's hard to get to because of these covers right here. Goes right in, not a problem at all. Little big and bulky, especially when he's already kind of big and bulky. How about this? He's a tough guy. Boom, 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 boom. And then he has a plasma cannon. And guess what? This has kind of a futuristic look to it. But it looks like it's 2 different manufacturers, or he got this from 2 different planets or something, 2 different timelines. There's more gunmetal here. I like the green punched in. Also, these little yellow touches right there. They gave it a cool little glow in the promo shot. On the actual gun, it's just kind of clear plastic in there. Also, it has kind of a hollow feel to it. Like it's 2 halves smushed together with that green in there. And really the grenade launcher does too. But it doesn't feel flimsy. It doesn't feel like you're gonna break it in half or anything. It's solid. Well, it's not solid, it's hollow, but it's solid, you know? And then it has 2 magazines that I guess are extra plasma charges. Notice the slots right there. And then there's pegs up in there. I'm guessing it goes this way, maybe? Yeah, that feels pretty tight. It kind of latches onto those pegs in there. It's a cool little thing to pull out and, you know, mess with. But also would have been okay if it was just part of the sculpt. And then besides just the grim demeanor cable head, there's also the gritting teeth grim demeanor head. I'm okay with this, but I don't know. It seems like that's a lot of just top teeth. I feel like we should see some bottom teeth or something. That's easy enough to just pop, pop. There you go. And then finally, the battery feature. Like I commented earlier, this looks pretty much invisible, but you push up and there's a cover. There's your switch. We got to pull the screw right there. They seem to go this way. So tiny, and I'm getting so old. Get your little battery ass in there. Flip the switch. Oh, that lights up too. Did I know that? I think I knew that, but that's still nifty. You have the two bright lights right there. That's awesome. This kind of lights up yellow, and then you have the eye effect. Again, if you didn't know that lit up, you wouldn't have known, but now that it lights up, it's freaking awesome. Let's flip out some lights and see what happens there. You kind of get a bleed through, like it's coming through the skin, but it kind of acts like it's shining from the eye, so I'm okay with that. What they did is the slot is only facing cable's left side. You can kind of see it happening right there, but once you put it on, boop. That's just really well done. And then the back, yeah, okay. I can live with this. I'm getting some light shining through the neck. Well, the camera's not picking it up. It's picking up the chest though, really nice. But I'm never gonna have it in the dark completely, so it's a nice little light up effect. Height-wise, cable stands at 6.5 inches tall, which if you search Google, he stands at 6'6" in the comics, or that's what they have him listed at. So yeah, it's pretty damn close. For comparison, here he is with the Mezco I knocked the sword out of his hand. With the Mezco Deadpool and Cyclops. He's a little bit taller than both Deadpool and Daddy, but he's not 90s big. I'm thinking the boots are giving it that little extra height. Here it is with the Marvel Legends 90s style cable. There's your height right there. And then the Marvel Legends modern Deadpool. If you wanted to use this together, that'd be perfectly fine. Just for giggles, here he is with the Mezco Netflix Punisher and the Medicom Mafex comic book Deadpool. He's comic booky, he's smooth, he's really detailed, realistic, but something about that I like. One of the big downfalls here is you can't really get him into a two-handed shooting pose. The arms don't seem long enough or something. You essentially can't get his elbow around the gun to grab the trigger. That's kind of a huge negative there. There's too much stock to the weapons and then not enough arm. So at the end of the day, a very, very fine cable, but a very, very stiff cable. And that's weird to say out loud. There is articulation and there is a nice amount of range of movement to most of that articulation. But the stiffness in the chest and then the arm are bulked on top of that, and the elbows move, but how short the arms are compared to the hugeness of the weapons, it just doesn't all mesh together. So a cable that can't hold big honkin' futuristic weapons, at least two-handed, is a negative, but it being cable and him holding two big honkin' futuristic type weapons, I'm okay with that. And I don't expect a guy Cable's size, or well, what I think of when I think of his size, he's not gonna be doing gymnastics or anything. So when I put Cable in the category of big lumbering machine gun guy, this figure easily falls into that category. I wish he could hold a big honking weapon in two hands, but it's just not meant to be. So where it falls flat in the agility department, it makes up for in the realism and detail department. Am I justifying a purchase? Probably, but I also like the look of this Cable. He's going to stand out on the Mezco shelf. I wish I could leave the LEDs on all the time, but I don't want to be switching batteries. And we need more X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, X-Statics. It's a definite get if you're a Mezco fan, if that's all you buy and you need a Cable in your display. And really, it goes well with Marvel Legends too, if you're just going to have him standing there being a badass. But if you want a gymnastic Cable, this one's not for you. But if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe, or whatever the platform you're watching this on allows. Much love to the Plus, you guys are awesome. Some reviews go to the YouTube channel, but there's also the Roku channel and the Amazon Fire channel. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh.